All right, we are live with Jeff Chan, aka MMAShredded. He's coming off his big promotional win at One Championship King of the Jungle in Singapore. Thank you for joining me on this live chat, Jeff. How you doing, man? You look good.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
No doubt, man. Let's jump right into it, man. The performance that you had, it was pretty damn near flawless, man. You went in there, you looked exactly like I expected you to look, fluid. A lot of people probably thought you would have kind of looked more timid because you've been away from competing in an actual fight for a long time, but you didn't look like that. And just take us through the whole fight, man. See, give us your thoughts.
Uh, you know what? I thought I would be very nervous. I was nervous leading up towards the fight, and normally I'd be even more nervous as they call out my name as I walk into the cage and as I'm, staring down my opponent. But I was actually really, really calm, no nerves at all. It could be my cornerman Xavier Aloui. He was the whole time just such high energy, motivated me so much positive energy, and I just felt very confident in there. Um, yeah, I mean, I did not feel any ring rust. I felt very fluid in everything. Uh, uh, I hope I hope the fight. I wanted the fight to stay standing. It didn't go the way I wanted to, but I'm still happy with the results.
You said that the fight didn't go the way you wanted it to. So you didn't expect to get a submission. You expected to like get the knockout.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it standing, and I heard that my opponent was like a striking specialist, although he's been working his jiu-jitsu. So I expected him to try to keep it standing and maybe take it to the ground. But right from the start, he went to the ground,
Mm.
and I can tell that all he tried to do was catch my low kicks. So he obviously watched a lot of my footage and knew I love low kicks, and every low kick I threw, he had a game plan for it.
Is that like kind of the adjustment you made in the fight, or was that
I
something expected?
wasn't much of an adjustment. I Going into every fight, I'm gonna expect that my opponent knows I have good low kicks. So I switched it up a bit. I threw a few high kicks. I think I clipped them with a rear high kick just on the toes to switch it up, and then I went back to low, high, low, high.
Yeah, yeah, but it was very impressive, man. Like you said, you felt a little bit of pressure leading into it, but in the cage, not really much pressure.
Not really.
And you always talk about that, you're a martial artist. You don't really like to fight, but you're kind of doing everything for the people, right? And
It
talk
is.
more in depth about that. The people that are following you, the people that you meet throughout your journey for the last couple of years doing what you do, with the videos and everything. Go in depth about like why is it for the people?
It's for the people because at the end of the day, I started making these videos because I want to help people. I want to help other passionate martial artists, up their game, and especially for those who don't have access to a gym. There's a lot of people out there who don't have training partners and they just train by themselves. So to be able to help as many people in the world is obviously the number one priority. And then there's always going to be haters out there who uh, don't think I'm qualified, and that's how I, got the idea of adding sparring footage to all my tutorials. And to take a next step further, I want to compete to show that I've also have experience in the cage. And I remember in our last interview, I told you that I actually had decided to retire from fighting until
Mm.
one offered me the contract, and obviously it's a contract I couldn't refuse. And I decided this, even before this contract, I had tons of people asking me, "Hey, when are you gonna sign with One? When are you gonna sign with UFC?" And then, like, out of nowhere, the contract came, and I decided I would take it that one step further and show them that I can compete in One.
Now with one championship, this was your first fight week with them, and I'm pretty sure fighting on the regional scene compared to fighting with a much larger organization, there was many differences during fight week. How did the fight week go for you? Did you embrace it or was it pretty hectic?
Um, I have a lot to say about this actually. So first, I had a different coach for this fight, and from a different team from TriStar. Now I followed some of the same, I guess, routines as my previous fights with previous coaches, but this time it was Xavier Aloui who came from TriStar, and the way they train and recover and fight week is completely different. So normally I would train up till Wednesday. The fight's like Saturday, but this time, Xavier advised me to not do anything all week, like just light touch, all about recover, and that kind of like messed with my head, but in a good way. Like I was worried that my cardio would go down because I wouldn't be training for a week and too much resting. But that turned out great. I felt very great in the fight. This was actually also my first time training twice a day, every day, for a 6 to 8 week fight camp. Whereas in previous fights, I've always trained 5 days a week, not even every day, and once a day, because I was always balancing school, work, whatever it was. And, last time I interviewed you, I believe that was the starting point where I decided to, 100% on MMAShredded. So that allowed me to focus all my training. I actually moved to a different city and just focused on training. So I rented an Airbnb with my fiance, and literally I would wake up in the morning, go train, come home, eat, nap, train again. So I felt the best shape I've ever been for this fight. So then when I got to Singapore, I actually ended off my training camp in Thailand. So I got some good intense training with that heat. And then the week of the fight, I had to fly to Singapore, and nervous at first, but one championship, they treat the fighters very well. Very, very organized. Everything went smoothly. Amazing food, all covered, everything. And just media, photo shoot, just fun stuff. And then Xavier was a good guy. He helped me carry the camera and just filmed everything, which I just released the video today. So if anyone's interested in watching my Final Preps in Asia vlog part 2, check it out on my channel.
Definitely, man. I watched it already, so I know
Oh, awesome.
about everything. So, yeah. How important was that for you to go to Thailand a couple of days ahead and kind of get used to that heat? Because, I know you're, fighting inside of an arena, but still, that heat, it can be a factor, right?
You know what? I doubted it at first, and I was going to go just a week of because, I didn't want to fly to Thailand, then fly to Singapore. But then Coach Faraz Zahapi from TriStar suggested that I go 2 weeks early. And at first I was like, is it really necessary? And he's like, yeah, it's necessary for the jet lag. And man, the first week was actually hell in Thailand, because not only was I suffering from jet lag, I was dieting. And it was tough. Tough last week in Thailand. Singapore was a blast, just went smoothly. But in Thailand, the heat was killing me. I ended up eating local food because it was just cheap and delicious, but I totally didn't realize how oily the food was, and it made me feel like crap. And then on top of that, you wake up, you train, you eat. What else do you? You recover. You want to sleep, but you can't. And Xavier didn't let me, so it was a huge struggle just to stay up till 9 a.m. And then he made me stay up till like 2 in the morning, dieting, and super tired. So yeah. But then by the time I got to Singapore, my jet lag was a lot better. And I think that played a huge factor in how I felt during the fight. So for those who are fighting overseas for the first time, I highly suggest you try to get rid of that jet lag ahead of time.
Also, a whole new factor for you was the weigh-ins and also the hydration test that you had to go through. I've spoke with many fighters, and some of them, they've been fighting for one championship for a long time, and they still have struggles with that. And especially new fighters like yourself. How did that whole process go? Because I know it's a great process, but it's just a struggle because it's something kind of a shock to most fighters.
I actually have a funny story for you, and you're exactly right. Like, you guessed it right on point. So to begin with, it was actually my fault because they give you like a huge itinerary, like a whole schedule of like photo shoot this day, media this day, this, and I totally misread weight check, because I checked my weight 3 times in total. The first one is just literally a check. They just check your weight. The second one would be on Wednesday. They check your weight and hydration. And then Thursday is the actual weigh-in. You have to weigh in both days officially. Because they use the term weight check, I thought the second check was just a regular one, but I didn't know it was an official one. So, one of the one championship guys passes by and is like, "Oh, you got to be at this room, Sapphire 3, at 2 p.m. or whatever." So I go there. First one's there. Me and my coach. We're sitting there just killing time, and then suddenly we see people start coming in, and then one guy brings in his scale, or this guy brings in the official scale. I'm like, "Oh wow, why do they have a scale here? I guess we have to weigh in ourselves." And then I asked the one champ. Actually, I didn't even say anything. We're just waiting like idiots. And then the guy happened to pass by me, and I was like, "Oh hey, are we weighing ourselves?" He's like, "Yeah, it's an official weigh-in." And then me and my coach look at each other. We're like, eyes like this big. We're like, "Are you serious?" Because we didn't know, because I was on weight this whole time. So I ate a big breakfast. I had a decent amount of water, and we're like, "Oh shit!" And so we immediately we run to the other room. I'm wearing my sweater, and I started like shadow boxing and doing some burpees just to lose a bit of weight, because I didn't know what weight I was. And then I had to get my hydration test and jump on the scale. So the max is 0.250. I was 0.208. It's not bad, but a lot of the other guys were under 2. And then I stepped on the scale at 65.9, which is 0.5 grams above the weight, but I had a 2.2 grams allowance. So I just made it. So if I didn't make it, they would take 50% of my pairs. And then obviously the next day I was prepared. My fluid levels was 1.03 compared to 0.2, and I weighed in at 65 kilograms. So that was a big scare. Almost lost 15%.
But then that was the first one, right? There's like 3 of them that you have to go through.
There's two. The first one, they don't do the hydration. It's just a regular weight cut or weight test, which obviously I passed. And then the second one and third one is the weight and hydration, but it's official. They write it down.
So yeah, you had a little scare, but you got
It was a
through it.
very, very close call. Honestly, if I didn't go into that room and shadow box and do burpees, I would have been overweight.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I was on weight. I just ate a huge breakfast because I was on weight.
Yeah, so on your vlog, you were on weight in Thailand.
Yeah, I was on weight the whole time, and because I was on the weight, I continued to eat more and just try to fluctuate. And that morning, I ate a big meal. Throughout the day walking, I'm gonna lose that 2 pounds easily. But then the weigh-ins happened to be right after I ate. So,
well, going through all of that, right? And in your other fights, you had to cut weight the day before, 2 days before, the week before the weigh-ins. What differences did you see? It's a clear difference, right? Like it's way healthier.
Yeah. Way healthier. I'm all about this type of rule. Like, I think all organizations should definitely take it. So in bantamweight, it's 135 on the dot. For other promotions, for one, it's 135 to 145. So with last or previous fights, if I fought at 135, I would have to diet to 142, maybe 141, then water cut about 6 pounds. This time, I'm just dieting to 145. So it's actually way easier and hydrated.
Yeah. So yeah, I like every time I talk to the one fighters, they always explain it, and they always have different views of it. But yes, if you making weight like that and nobody's sucked up and they're all hydrated, it's a lovely thing for everybody. No one's risking anything by doing that. Now let's go back to the training camp, man, because you're talking about it's the first time you actually settled down and did 2-a-days. And is this the first time you also did strength and conditioning fully for camp?
Yeah,
I would normally you had your guy, right?
Yeah, normally I would do strength conditioning on my own, and my strength and conditioning would just be like weightlifting and nothing too organized or structured. This time I actually went once or twice a week, and I just listened to Xavier, and he'd put me through hell.
Did you feel like more powerful? Did you feel faster? Did you feel the effects of the strength and conditioning in the fight?
Definitely. I would have to owe it to the strength and conditioning training, but also because I was hydrated. I didn't even cut weight.
Okay. And then also your strength and conditioning coach went with you, Xavier, throughout the whole week, and he was actually doing all of that for you, right? for
Yeah,
leading up. So
yeah,
that I think that's important too, right? It's not like you just cut
very
it
important.
off. He was there pushing you.
Yeah, very, very. And again, he's not the type of guy who will push you to death. He'll push you to the point that you need to be. So even in my week in Thailand, in my vlog, I show some of my training. I want to push it because I still thought in my head I had a week to recover. But he's like, no, today you're only gonna do this much. You're not gonna overdo it. So he puts a limit for me and makes sure my body is fully recovered for the fight. And I'm used to again training all the way up until the fight, just thinking that I want to keep working and working. But the recovery and rest really helped.
For us, he's there, he's overlooking everything, and you working with him for the first time for this camp, what was it like? A lot of people don't know, what it's like to work with one of the best coaches probably in the history of mixed martial arts. Um, game planning with him, like what was the whole process with him?
Um, there wasn't too much game planning because, and I've said this in many of my interviews. My opponent, he's he's well rounded. He's a striking specialist who works on jiu-jitsu, so he's well rounded guy. He looks athletic. All his fights have been with one championship. But if you search him up, you only see him finish a rear naked choke highlight, a ground and pound highlight,
Mhm.
and then he lost his last fight to a guy with like over 50 fights, Imanari. So you can't get too much off of him. So I decided that I'd focus more on myself rather than him. But besides game planning, I did a lot of grappling and just a lot of wrestling takedowns, and that definitely played off for the fight, exactly how it went, even though I wanted to keep it striking. Um, the sequences that Faraz teaches is amazing. Like I love his classes. So I definitely upped my jiu-jitsu game. And I would say the main thing I got out of training at TriStar is the sparring classes. So sparring is twice a week, and there are monsters at the gym. And there are so many people in my weight class as well. So like at my old gym, if I were to spar someone in my weight class, they're probably very inexperienced or just different levels, and I'd have to spar heavier or bigger guys. At TriStar, 135ers, they're everywhere, and they're all much more experienced. For example, my main training partners would be Xavier Aloui. He's 10-3 or 11-3. Um, Aiden Zahabi, UFC. He's 9-2, I believe. Louis, who's also 8-2. And then I also got to spar with these German fighters that were visiting from Germany. And one is 10-5, one's 11-3. All my weight class, way more experienced. So, I got to move around with the best.
It pays off, right? Like having everything put together. Was your wife doing all the nutrition stuff for you? It seemed
Yeah,
like she was cooking, right?
she cooks everything for me. She's a
Mm,
huge supporter. She honestly just focuses on cooking a well balanced meal, not oily. She gives me my chicken breast, my vegetables, and then sweet potatoes. And
mm.
uh, yeah, honestly, eating and even up till today is the best thing in my life. Like I enjoyed every meal so much. After training, I cannot wait to eat, and I'm like eating every single bite slowly, taking my time. Yeah, food is life when you are in fight camp.
You lived the life of a professional athlete for the first time. Do you feel like that? Like you really was a professional. You really are a professional athlete now. Before you were kind of just
Mhm.
doing it, you're dabbling, but now it's like full blast. Um, you know, I'm a professional athlete. Like I have strength and conditioning, I have the dieting, I have the big camp behind me, I have the coach, everything.
For the first time, yeah, definitely. That's how I feel. Like as you said in my previous fights, it's like yeah, I'm fighting professionally, but
Mhm.
was I doing what most professional? Well, the thing is, it's hard. You can't say that, right? Because the UFC fighters and high level guys are doing it this way, but as a professional fighter, you're not. You don't get all those benefits. You don't have a specific strength conditioning coach. You don't have a nutritionist. I don't even have a nutritionist. This is my fiance. you know, um, you don't have all these luxuries. There's a lot of people who are, working full time while fighting. But yes, you're right. This is the first time where I had the luxury of training full time and not having to work on the side.
Now, in Asia right now, they have this coronavirus outbreak going on. Singapore has been hit pretty bad because they don't have, pretty much they shut down the event only just for the fighters and the coaches and the staff and everybody. How was it fighting in front of nobody, basically?
Yeah, I got asked this question a lot, and I think it played to my advantage because less pressure, not so much people watching, um, and because it was a Singaporean, uh, not arena, but it was in Singapore. My opponent was Singaporean. He was a hometown hero. He was the first Singaporean MMA pro fighter. So I would assume that, and I heard also a lot of people saying like, "Oh, you need to represent Singapore," and I assume that the crowd would have probably been on his side. Might have booed. I don't know. But they were probably cheering him on. So with that said, that actually plays to my advantage because I didn't have to hear that. As for a camera, the only thing that's watching is a camera. I'm so used to having a camera on me because I'm always filming my sparring and I'm always on camera. I actually do better when there's a camera on me.
Now, what's the plan? What are you gonna do now? I see that you're gonna. I believe I saw that you're gonna be doing some retreats. You mentioned earlier. You didn't mention it off camera. You mentioned that you're going somewhere. What's the plan? What's the plan for the next few months until you actually get another fight booked?
So the next plan right now is I'm waiting for my visa to be accepted or confirmed or whatever, and me and my fiance are going to go relax in Vietnam. We're not too concerned with the virus, although I do want to tell everyone to be healthy and be very careful. Wear your mask. We're wearing our mask, everyone. We're being very cautious. But with that said, we're planning on taking a little vacation in Vietnam. I might be heading back to not heading back, but I might be heading to Washington. I'll save that for another time. But then in April, I'll have to be back for my next train and travel camp in Koh Samui. So that will be very exciting. And then that will end in May. And then May, I'll be heading back to Canada and hope to resume my training.
The retreats, the training, out in Thailand that you're doing, like how you've done a few already, right? So what's the expectations now since you've done them and they've been very successful and you've met people from all around the world?
So far, I've had 2 camps, and both times the groups that attended were the best people in the world. Like I'm telling you, they were all sweethearts. They've all become brothers of mine, and we stay in touch. We still have each other in group chats and communicate all the time. And they were my biggest cheerleaders on WhatsApp for this fight as well. So knock on wood, but I'm hoping this third group is going to be the same. Yeah, I love meeting other passionate martial artists. It's an amazing thing, and we train hard twice a day, and then we go and hang out and relax by the pool, by the beach, whatever it is. Eat good food. So I'm looking forward to it.
I think I saw somebody or some people having like the MMAShredded logo tattooed on their body. Is that real?
Yeah, I was so
Wow.
shocked. So basically, they were telling me that they went to go get they're going to get tattoos, and I was like, okay, sure. And then one time they came back, and then my fiance went to go get the camera. People were all standing around, kind of just like looking at me, and I'm the most oblivious person sometimes, and I had no idea what was up. And then I was like, what's going on? And then they're kind of just like walking in front of me with showing the tattoo, but I didn't know. And then they're just like walking. They're like, you don't notice anything? I'm like, no. And then they're like, look. And I looked at it. I honestly looked at my own brand, my own logo, and I didn't even recognize it for a second. And then I looked at it clearly. I'm like, oh shit! It's the MMA logo. Yeah, I was really shocked. It's an honor that they would get a tattoo of my logo on their arm. Yeah.
Late last year, you went throughout Asia. If you go to your page, your YouTube page, you can see everything like Korea, Japan, Thailand, everywhere you went in Asia. What's the next trip you're planning on? Are you gonna go to Europe? Are you, I'm pretty sure a lot of people want you. You've probably got a lot of messages from people like, come to our gym, and train with us and film and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely get a lot. Philippines is a place that a lot of people have mentioned. Holland. It's funny. I get a lot of guys are saying, "Hey, you like sparring hard? Come to Holland." No, I don't like sparring hard. I only spar hard when people hit me hard and I hit back hard. But yeah, I get a lot of people requesting. Right now, the next place is Vietnam, and then obviously Koh Samui, and California is definitely a place that I'm planning on visiting in the next year or this year.
Yeah, California has like what, like 80, 90, 100 gyms you could go to, and it's
Yeah,
just killers
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
Well, Jeff, man, always appreciate the time, man. I know that you're gonna go back, go to Vietnam, relax, have fun, and then you're gonna get back to Canada and get back to it. Do you have any opponent in mind? Like, do you think like, okay, I want to fight this level of fighter now, or you just gonna let one championship decide like who you fight next?
I'm just gonna play by ear, let them decide. Again, I'm you know where I stand with fighting. I see myself as a martial artist. I just can't wait to go back to the gym and start making content again because for the last 2 months I have not been able to make content. Uh, I've been focusing on the fight, so now I want to get back to some tutorials, some breakdowns, and because at the end of the day, that's what made me. That's what people know me for, not fighting, but for helping others. So
All right, Jeff, man, thank you so much for joining me, and
thank you for having
hopefully
me.
we get another chat, in the next couple months, catch up.
Message me anytime.
And yeah, and be careful, man. And I always appreciate you kind of supporting me, in any little way you could, man. So it helps a lot. Yeah, good luck to you on everything that you're doing, and I'm looking forward to the tutorials, man. I want to see those back up on the page.
Perfect. Thank you, brother.